Alabama, Auburn, and around college football. Follow and compare to the sites you used to visit. You'll also get the latest highlights and news from the Next Round Daily Show. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. See more at nextroundlive.com.
By now, you guys know how I feel about my fashion. However, did you know that I care about your fashion choices? Cargo shorts are out, flip-flops are only appropriate on the boat, and please throw away that stained t-shirt from college. You may be thinking, EG, that's all I own. What do I do? Here's what you do. Go to nextround.store and fill your cart with a wardrobe that is approved by me. Stock up on logo t-shirts, hoodies for football season, and hats for every day of the week. Trust me on this one and head over to nextround.store to get stocked up for this season.
Follow Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The social media team at Next Round Live will share the latest interviews and videos from UAB, Alabama, Auburn, and campuses all over the college landscape. You'll also get the latest highlights and news from the Next Round Live Daily Show. Jim, Lance, and Ryan will share their thoughts, and remember, you can always see the old shows on the Next Round Live YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and don't forget to comment. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. It's Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
You've been wearing that thin, raggedy t-shirt for years now, and people cannot stop whispering and staring in your vicinity. We've all been there. Luckily, there's a solution to your lack of fashion and social cues. At nextround.store, they have plenty of options when it comes to a variety of shirts and hats. Once you start putting that Next Round gear on, be prepared to make new lifelong friends and hundreds of unforgettable conversations. Hope you like random high fives in the street, because that's what you're getting after visiting nextround.store.
Just because you've quit going to the gym, it doesn't mean that you have to quit gym altogether. Dunaway, that is. With our Next Round podcasts open 24/7, 365, you can access gym anytime you'd like. While you may have done away with your treadmill routine, our version of Dunaway is standing by ready to get you back to your absolute best. Find all that lovely Jimmy D-led content on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and in the podcast section of nextroundlive.com. This message is sponsored by Jimmy Crypto Inc. and Jimmy Crypto for President.
Here at the Next Round, we love our guests, especially our 2024 football regulars. Auburn and Alabama fans, we've got your guys. On Mondays at 9:25, we'll be joined by Alabama offensive lineman Tyler Booker, and Tuesdays at 9:25, we chat with Auburn quarterback Peyton Thorne. Join us and rep your team.
This hour of the Next Round is presented by the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, now featuring 7 days of giveaways with your chance to win a share of up to $125,000. The more you visit the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, the more chances you have to win.
Want more of the show? Download the app or visit nextroundlive.com for the latest podcast, The Mystery Fifth Hour, our Not For All Ages podcast, The Last Call, and the entire Double Down Media podcast family, all at nextroundlive.com and on the Next Round app.
We talk about all the biggest games every Monday at 10:30 with Fox Sports analyst Joel Klatt, presented by MyBookie.ag, promo code NEXTROUND. If it is meaningful at all in college football, we cover it Mondays with Joel Klatt, presented by MyBookie.ag on the Next Round.
From the creators of the Next Round comes two new sites, CoverCrimson.com and TheBarnAuburn.com. Two team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on the Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. CoverCrimson.com or TheBarnAuburn.com. Sign up today.
You never know what we're up to here at the Next Round. The easiest way to stay in the know with our antics and adventures is to follow the Next Round across all social media platforms at Next Round Live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Whether it's Dunaway sleeping in the studio, Tim and Lunsford breaking down the latest movie release, or Game Day Chronicles, we are here to keep you updated on the latest sports news while, of course, having just a little bit of fun. Follow at Next Round Live across all platforms to join in.
The World Wide Web is a large place. Find all your favorite people and content in the same spot. NextRoundLive.com is full of wonderful tidbits about the show you know and love. Find our gear, listen to your favorite personalities, follow our socials, and enjoy your trip to NextRoundLive.com.
Follow the Next Round on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Next Round Live.
All right, here we go live now on a Monday after Week 5 action in college football. Jim Dunaway along with Tom Luginbill of ESPN. As we get going this morning, Lugs, Brett jumps in and says, good morning from York, Nebraska. Never been, but I love me some Nebraska these days. Steve says, good morning to all the Monday Morning Live Nexters. Everyone's talking about what it's a Lugs Monday morning in there. Dave's listening to us on a bus on his way in to see old Mickey Mouse this morning down there, which is a great time. Lugs, we'll start with the biggest game in the country. We'll come back to it a couple of times to get the ramifications and everything of it. But Alabama beats Georgia 41-34. At one point, Georgia scores 19 unanswered and eventually takes the lead, and Alabama has to come back and make a play to win the football game. Just first off, your thoughts on the way that game played out, and then we'll break it down a couple of different ways. But Alabama beating Georgia, your thought is?
Initially, it was stunning the way it started out. And when I listened to Kirby Smart throughout the week leading up to the game, Jim, and his thoughts, and you could tell his concerns about defending Jalen Milroe, he could not have phrased it any better in terms of why the guy is so difficult. He called him maybe the best running back in the country who can throw the football. And they did not have any answer for quarterback run, which really surprised me, given that not that they wouldn't have a plan. Of course, they tried to have a plan, but listening to his comments post-game about, why don't you bracket or double team Ryan Williams? Well, you can't, because if you do that, you can't defend quarterback run. They were having a hard enough time defending quarterback run as it was. And so Alabama was able to put Georgia in such a pickle on defense because of that one element. We've talked about it all the time, how much an athletic running quarterback changes the complexion of the game. But I thought there was a lot of resiliency and perseverance on behalf of Georgia. I listened to Kirby Smart's halftime interview. He didn't even seem fazed. He was very matter-of-fact about what they needed to do, and then they came out and they did it. It was an impressive halftime adjustment, if you will. But I thought it was one of the best football games I've watched. I think it's interesting you have a game like that nobody anticipates playing out that way, and then certainly don't have a second half that you anticipated playing out that way. So all in all, as a game in its entirety, I think it ended the way people thought it would have begun.
Yeah, I would tell you that going in, after watching all the Kirby versus Nick showdown, Saban versus Smart, very conservative, playing to the defense early on, and you sort of let the game build, and then you take chances when you have to take chances. That was not the case. I went in watching this game. I've said this probably 15 times to a group of different people since the game ended on Saturday night. I went into this game wanting to see Kalen DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, Kane Womack, the two coordinators, how they game plan for this game, specifically DeBoer and Sheridan, going up against the great defensive minds, Kirby Smart, Schumann, Will Muschamp, who works there Sunday through Fridays. Just some great defensive minds over there. What would DeBoer and Sheridan bring to the table? And in the first 18 minutes, I watched that great defensive mind trust searching for answers to try to figure out a way to stop that game plan. And equally on the flip side, Womack, what he was doing to that offense, I was just blown away at how good the game plan was from Sheridan, Womack, and that DeBoer staff.
Well, yeah, the game plan was fantastic, but then the kids executed it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, coaches don't have any eligibility. I think that offensively they are really in rhythm of picking their choosing their spots to utilize Jalen and force defenses to have to account for designated quarterback run. Not just the improvised creative stuff, but stuff where you better have an extra hat in the box, and then all of a sudden you start getting worried and you bring another guy in the box, and now you get the one-on-ones downfield. It was a really good chess match in relationship to getting either a thin box, and once the box got loaded, then you had the one-on-ones and you took advantage of them downfield. I thought defensively, particularly in the first half, I think Alabama's trying to protect some of their youth on the back end. That youth ended up making the play of the game on the last play of the game in Davian Brown. I think if we're talking 5 to 6 weeks from now and we're looking at this exact same Alabama secondary, we're going to have an entirely different conversation as those kids continue to grow up. I think it was a great lesson as well for Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, their kids, that you can't ever take your foot off the gas. Not against a team like that. Not saying that they kind of just took a breath, but they just kept letting Georgia hang around and creep back into the game. And the next thing you know, you're in a dogfight. But the kids responded. Sometimes you can't flip that switch.
And they did respond. And you're an old play caller. They had thrown that same play, it looked like, or some version of it, at Zabian Brown a few times. And he had missed a couple of times on trying to defend it. With 49 seconds left, did they go back to it too soon? Was it because he learned? He stacked play after play and had the knowledge that last time to make the interception. Do you think that was the right thing to do as a play caller?
Well, I think that the ball was poorly thrown in terms of the attempt of where they wanted to put the ball. And then as a youngster, I think what their thought process is, we've got a young freshman corner out there who has taken some shots. We've taken advantage of him. He's got to be mentally worn down. Maybe his confidence is shook a little bit. Let's attack him again. And I think that's the mindset of take advantage of the least experienced player out there. I didn't think the ball was thrown very well. And to the kid's credit, he got his head around and was able to make a play as opposed to having his back to the quarterback and not being able to locate the football. Just an outstanding job of rep after rep after rep. I'm not letting this happen to me again.
That other number 2 that plays offense, more on him in just a second. This is Monday Morning Live. That is Tom Luginbill. And I am simply Jim Dunaway, who drives the show towards Luginbill here. Brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag, promo code next round. You go to mybookie.ag, you make an account, you throw in the promo code next round, no space, put the words together, and you get a deposit bonus. Whatever you throw in there, 100 turns to 200, so forth down the line there. Your deposit bonus right now at mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag, promo code next round. Also by our friends at Roback, roback.com. Great golf gear. I wore some yesterday on the golf course. And they've got unbelievable pants, hoodies as well. You can get great gear from Roback. Promo code there is TNR. That stands for the next round. TNR. You get 20% off your initial order there. 20%. It's a big deal. 20% off. Roback.com. Promo code TNR20. Two of our great sponsors here on Monday Morning Live. Ryan Williams, who's only 17. He made plays all night long, but the one after Alabama had fell behind, everyone in the chat room, Josh, before the show started, he says, I see the countdown 3 minutes before the show starts. I'm going to go watch the Ryan Williams catch a few more times. Robert, Josh, I've probably watched it 50 times already. Over and over, people are talking about going back and watching that play over and over. It is one of the more remarkable catch and runs in Alabama football history. What'd you see on the throw, the decision to go to that play right out of the gate, and why he chose Ryan Williams, and then Ryan Williams after he makes the catch? Break that one down for me.
Well, number one, I didn't think it was a great throw, but I think the decision, and this is where you know somebody is so good that you're just like, screw it, Ryan's down there somewhere, right? And when you have that confidence level in somebody, and then that player's confidence level is maybe larger than anybody on the field, regardless of whether they're 23 or they're 17, you're going to give them a shot. And I think when I say the ball wasn't thrown terrifically, it was thrown in an up and down manner, meaning it gave Ryan Williams the opportunity to make an adjustment because the ball wasn't too flat. The ball had it up and down, and it dropped almost like into a bucket. So it gave Ryan the opportunity. And Kirby Smart said this postgame, and he's right. That kid's focus, ball skills, and ability to make adjustments when elevated is as good as I have ever seen. We had him in the Under Armour game last January, and he's playing all week versus kids that are a year older than him. And it still didn't matter. And we went back to the drawing board as a staff. We're like, okay, we've got Ryan Williams, we've got Jeremiah Smith, we got Cam Coleman. Where do we want to slot these three guys? It was the first time in 15 years we've had three wide receivers in the top 7 of our overall rankings in high school recruiting. Then we went Ryan, Jeremiah, and Cam in that order. And I'm really glad we did, because I think that kid does things from a maturity standpoint that you can't coach. You can't really even identify why. There's just something innate about him, which is rare. It's extremely rare. At 17, I even think it's rare at 22. But he is clearly a handful and a problem. And the thing is, Jim, it doesn't matter if he's covered. I think that's the line of thinking, too, with Jalen Milroe, with Kalen DeBoer and that staff. If you just give him a chance, the very worst option is going to be an incomplete pass.
And then what he does with his body to make the run to get in there, because you know how it is. You make that big completion, you still got the Georgia defense, you still got to score.
He looked like a ghost. Like Georgia's defenders looked like they were chasing something they couldn't see. And then they bump into each other when he puts on the brakes and steps back, and then gets his ability to get from 0 to 60 in the blink of an eye is extremely rare. And he does it with body control and coordination, and there is no throttling down whatsoever. It's impressive, man.
I want to make one more point on Alabama, then we'll move on to some other games. We'll come back to Alabama and Georgia and what it means a little bit later on in the show, in the second half hour of the show. But I did want to go to just Kalen DeBoer, his philosophy. It's 34-33. You've blown this huge lead at home. 2 minutes and change left. Yeah. The air is out of the building. Everyone is like, "Oh, this is 2010 Iron Bowl all over again. It's about to be a disaster." And on the first play, you take your shot. And it reminded me of Oregon and Washington last year, when Oregon would make a play. Kalen DeBoer had no problem coming right back and putting it in Michael Penix's hand, throwing to the best receiver, Rome Odunze. And that's what that felt like. Mm-hmm. It was like, Jalen, it's you and our best guy, Ryan Williams, and whatever you got to do, I trust you. Go do it.
Yeah, find him. Yeah, find him. And again, it's how do we get our best player the football as often as possible? I mean, it's sometimes we overcomplicate football, right? Blocking, tackling, don't be penalized, don't turn the ball over, and get the ball into the hands of your best players and then see what they can do. I wasn't all that surprised at the timing of it in terms of taking the shot early. I just think that's his aggressive nature. Whether there's 2 minutes on the clock or 20 seconds on the clock, let's push the ball downfield and shrink the field, give us more opportunities. And when you got a guy out there like that, you're willing to take a little more risk.
A couple of people in the chat room making great points. Want your thoughts on these as we go to the mybookie.ag chat room. If you didn't notice, Georgia was 5 of 5 on fourth downs. They had to play that kind of game just to get back and have enough time to make a win. So the first thing is, Steve, out of the 5 fourth down plays, we gave them 2 automatic first downs with our penalties. Just stop them on one of the 5 plays, and it's a different game. Talk about why they had to start going for it so early. I guess just the time left in the game and the deficit, and then how Alabama couldn't stop them on fourth down. Those were all crucial plays. 5 of 5 on fourth down. You don't see that very often.
Well, no, because the percentages don't weigh in your favor. And if you did that 10 different times, you probably would be maybe 1 of 4, 8 of them. You know, I mean, that's just if you look at an analytics book, your percentages are never going to weigh in your favor the majority of the time on fourth down, let alone 5 for 5. It just happened to be one of those moments, Jim. I don't think there's something that you can sit there and say, well, why did this happen? Why did that? Maybe they catch Alabama in the right cover. You have the penalties, as you're referencing. Carson Beck finds the right guy in the right moment. It's probably a variety of ingredients that go into making that a positive outcome that many times. Is luck a part of it? Yeah, probably. That's part of it, too. That's part of football.
It was really an interesting football game, and there's a way you can take away positives for Georgia as well as the win for Alabama. We'll circle back to that coming up. Alabama on the road at Vandy this week, Georgia at home, and here comes Auburn. More on Auburn after I remind you that Gutter Cap brings you Monday Morning Live here on the show. C-Stew has been doing business for over a couple of decades now in the Birmingham area. GutterCapBirmingham.com, GutterCapBirmingham.com, the website. Get a great discount there because you're a Monday Morning Live person. But all you have to do, you get the gutters cleaned out one more time, get them cleaned out one more time, and then they cap those gutters for life, and you never have to clean them out ever again. The phone number is 205-823-2212. 823-2212, guttercapbirmingham.com. Free estimates up to 45% off. Cap it, don't snap it. It's our friends at Gutter Birmingham, one of the great businesses that have been doing it the right way in our town for a long, long time. Auburn outplayed Oklahoma, I felt, for about 56 minutes. Now a 5-game homestand has come to an end, and they are 2-3 going on the road to play Georgia, not where any Auburn fan thought they would be. And in their 3 Power 4 games, all losses, they're averaging 16 points a game with those great receivers and then Hugh Freeze's play calling. Let's go first to why you think the offense isn't doing more. Now, it was a Brent Venables Oklahoma defense. The challenge was was the biggest challenge they'd had to date. But it looked like Auburn had protected the ball and done enough to win this football game, and then they didn't.
I totally agree, and we do need to give Oklahoma credit on defense. That's a good defensive football team. I thought everything was going fine with Auburn. They were playing good football. They had been able to limit a player, the Oklahoma offense to a player or two. I know the big 48-yard run was a big one by the freshman, but they really didn't make any plays on offense until late in the game on the 60-yarder and the 2-point conversion play. Aside from that, I thought Auburn played really good, steady, consistent football for the entire game. Even Peyton Thorne was starting to piece together some nice things, making good decisions with the ball. They had some run-pass balance. They were in control of the game for really the entirety of the game, I felt. It was one of those head-scratching moments late, and I can't believe that Hugh Freeze would throw the football under any circumstances in that moment at that time, let alone being no backs, let alone being an empty set. That, to me, was a decision that I think will haunt him. And I know the comments he made post-game about not giving the player that option, all right? And I'm not sure what the other option was unless it was quarterback draw. But it was a catastrophic error, and the other quarterback on the other side never made one. In an environment like that, on the road, unfamiliar territory, Michael Hawkins Jr. at Oklahoma didn't do anything to hurt his football team, and that at the end of the day, that was the difference.
And that is mind blowing. In fact, that his first start on the road at a crazy place like Jordan-Hare, he doesn't damage his team in any way.
No.
You got to have a quarterback to win games. Peyton Thorne got rave reviews from Hugh Freeze all spring, all summer long, and now we're here at 2-3. There was a moment in the fourth quarter, a timeout because the play clock was running down, that he and Hugh were in a heated discussion on the sidelines, caught very, very intensely by the cameras. It seemed to be a choice over run play options in the plays that Peyton was choosing, at least if you believe what people are saying. If I want to run play as a coach, why do I call a run play option? Why don't I just call a run play? I've got those in the playbook, right? I take the pass out of it, right? If I want to run play, just call a run play, right?
No doubt. So when you're packaging plays, sometimes you're going to have a check with me where it's all run. You're just wanting to go to a certain look that you see within the front, or maybe you have some numbers to the side of the center. where you've got an advantage and you're going to check to either side. Sometimes you're just going to have a designated call. We're going to run inside zone, or we're going to run split zone, or we're going to run outside zone, either to the right or the left, whatever it may be. And then other times you're going to have an option based off of look, whether you want to take what we call a now, meaning it's built in, it's right there, take it right now if it's there, versus the called run that's tied into that. But at the end of the day, if you just want to line up and run the football, just run the football. Just don't give the quarterback any option to do anything else by play design. I mean, it's that simple. And I think that's what was so head scratching about that moment. And they played more than good enough to win the game. And I think that's what's so discouraging if you're an Auburn fan, today or yesterday, the day after the game, and maybe even more discouraging clearly as a player or a coach there.
BT Barry says, I thought Hugh would be a good fit at Auburn. Not so sure about that right now. Obviously, fans are fans, and when you've lost 3 of the first 5 at home, you don't play an October home game. There will be disgruntled folks out there. Let me just ask you, you know what Auburn's personnel is right now.
Yeah.
Jarquez Hunter runs it 17 times.
Mm-hmm.
What's a good carry number for him? Is that a good carry number? Would you give him more? He ran it 17. Peyton ran it 17 times. Would you give him more carries, more touches?
Yeah, potentially, maybe in the 18 to 22 range. And, whether you're including stuff out of the backfield in the pass game in that, maybe, a few more touches here and there. I think the reason, I think I said this to you a few weeks back, the reason why Hugh Freeze felt so good about the development of Peyton Thorne was that he was convinced that they are so much better around Peyton Thorne than they were a year ago. KLS, Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Jarquez Hunter. It's a better supporting cast, but the quarterback hasn't elevated those guys. And there's a part of me too, and I know Peyton Thorne can run, but I wouldn't necessarily call him a runner. And I do feel like this offense maybe needs a little bit of that. They need what Michael Hawkins Jr. can do to be a little bit more dangerous. Not everybody's going to be Jalen Milroe, but those types of athletic traits and athletic plays in this type of offense, I think just break the offense open that much more.
Before we take our only break of the show coming up in a second, what went on in Oxford, I don't know how to put it into a big circle here. It's a lot of subsets, because I got to give Kentucky's defense a little respect, because they held Georgia to 13, and now they've held Ole Miss to 17. Kentucky beats Ole Miss 20-17. It's the highest ranked road win for Kentucky since 1977, when everybody had that Farrah Fawcett poster on their closet door. What do you make of Lane's team after that just head-scratching home loss there? We thought this was going to be a different Lane Kiffin mature team, and their offense kept getting shut down by Mark Stoops' defense.
I think when you schedule the way that they schedule, you do yourself no favors, because you didn't create any challenges. You didn't create any moments of adversity. You made it look easy. You get lulled into thinking it's going to be easy. You haven't been punched in the mouth. You don't know how you're going to respond when you are. And quite honestly, I thought Kentucky was the more physical team. I thought that for the better part of that game, they manhandled Ole Miss in the trenches. And that's where I think the difference in the game was. And I quite frankly think they really surprised Ole Miss defensively with how much they ran Brock Vandagriff, because that was a concerted effort to change how Pete Golding was going to play defense by incorporating quarterback run with a guy that generally isn't involved as a quarterback runner. Now they brought Gavin Winsat in as well to supplement that. And it worked. I thought they really created challenges, and then it opened up the pass game, particularly for explosives downfield. And Kentucky's weapons are pretty good now. So I thought that was the best passing performance from Brock Vandagriff. He looked like he grew up a little bit. But that when you schedule that way, I really think that hurt Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's what Riley says. Got cocky playing soft teams. Peanut says what happened in Oxford was a coach and in turn a team that did not respect the opponent. From this point of view over here, Lugs, and I know you don't break down everything Lane Kiffin says about Hugh Freeze or insinuates about Hugh Freeze or anything like that. You don't break down the Lane Kiffin news conference with a Captain Crunch Dakota ring like we do here at the Next Round. but it did feel like coming off of Hugh Freeze throwing, quote unquote, throwing players under the bus, that Lane Kiffin at 2 times while meeting with his media during the week did take a chance to say things like, it's important to not throw your team under the bus, your players to have a relationship. It hurts you in recruiting if you end up doing that. And then on the teleconference, where Hugh earlier in the day had paid a compliment to Ole Miss's NIL, when Lane got on the teleconference, said, when he was told about that, he says, well, I want to thank Hugh. Hopefully he won't come and try to steal my guy like he's tried to steal all my coaches. Lane Kiffin's mind, other places than winning at this football game against Kentucky. I just don't understand the way he operates over there.
He does it, and it's almost like he can't help himself, right? He has been able to rein it in far better than he did 10, 12 years ago, but he just can't help himself if something bothers him. And he can't, unless he gets it out, he can't let it fester. And then the way it comes across, it doesn't help him. It doesn't help them. And you're right. Like I said, you go into the game versus Kentucky and you don't respect Kentucky because you don't think that they should be on the same field with you. And then you don't perform well. And to be honest with you, I really thought that Kentucky, and I don't know if I expected this with the game going into it, but Kentucky just was the more physical football team, top to bottom. At the end of that game, they were the more physical football team.
Yeah, so that was the big upset near the top. Alabama and Georgia had another. The outcome of that one guaranteed a top 10 loss. Nobody really expected Ole Miss. They dropped down to the number 12 in the new AP poll. Quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about more games and then circle back to the aftermath of Alabama and Georgia. The Who Is Coffee AP Top 25 this morning. Alabama, new number 1 team in the country with 41st place votes. Texas slips to number 2, bye week before Red River. Ohio State is 3. Tennessee is 4. Georgia drops to 5. Oregon, Penn State, Miami, Missouri, Michigan rounding out the top 10 right there. Who Is Coffee? They give you the Next Round blend. You can get the best coffee you've ever tried by going to our store, nextround.store. Nextround.store. Scott Forester put together the blend. He curated different beans from around the world, came up with a perfect blend, and it's now bagged and ready to be shipped to your home. I've got a shipping plan that comes to my house as well. 3 bags a month is what I get coming to the house, and you can get that delivery too. It's nextround.store, nextround.store, and check out everything with our friends at Who Is Coffee. We're back on Monday Morning Live after this quick timeout.
Stop by the New York Butcher Shop and pick up the finest in certified Angus prime beef steaks and burgers, premium pork chops, ribs, and all-natural chicken cut to order just for you. Their chef-prepared entrees and side dishes are the perfect dinner-to-go choice for your family and are ready to heat at home. With a great selection of fine wines and desserts, the New York Butcher Shop is your one-stop dinner shop. 2 locations to serve you, Cahaba Heights and on Highway 119 in Greystone. The New York Butcher Shop, rare quality, well-done service.
Things fall apart. There's even a book about it, but that doesn't mean you have to break the bank to fix them. Ryan Brown here for the Next Round. Our friends at Mortgage Right have a new renovation option that will make repairs and other home improvements easy. If you've recently purchased a home and find yourself short on cash, or you're looking to buy a fixer-upper, Mortgage Right's renovation loan program can help you spruce up your space. Repairs can be made to your roof, plumbing, flooring, and more with the help of top-notch mortgage professionals. So get your fix by visiting mortgageright.com/TNR. NMLS 2239, Equal Housing Lender.
Happy football season. At the Next Round, we strive to make our loyal listeners feel like they're a part of the action all season long. My name is Emily Grace McWhorter, and I do that by bringing you along for any given Saturday in Auburn or Tuscaloosa. From pregame warm-ups, touchdowns that make you feel a part of the play, and everything in between, our goal is to make you feel like you're inside Bryant Denny or Jordan Hare. Follow along on our social media at Next Round Live on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Also, check out thebarnauburn.com and covercrimson.com while you're at it. Here's to fall Saturdays.
From the creators of The Next Round comes two new sites, covercrimson.com and thebarnauburn.com. Two team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on The Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. Covercrimson.com or thebarnauburn.com. Sign up today.
Follow Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The social media team at Next Round Live is dedicated to giving you daily news conferences and practice video from UAB, Alabama, Auburn, and around college football. Follow and compare to the sites you used to visit. You'll also get the latest highlights and news from the Next Round Daily Show. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. See more at nextroundlive.com.
By now, you guys know how I feel about my fashion. However, did you know that I care about your fashion choices? Cargo shorts are out, flip-flops are only appropriate on the boat, and please throw away that stained t-shirt from college. You may be thinking, EG, that's all I own. What do I do? Here's what you do. Go to nextround.store and fill your cart with a wardrobe that is approved by me. Stock up on logo t-shirts, hoodies for football season, and hats for every day of the week. Trust me on this one and head over to nextround.store to get stocked up for this season. Hang out with the Next Round on the go. Whether you're driving to work, running errands, sitting on the beach, or you just need a break from the real world, we can keep you company. Check out the Next Round, Mystery Fifth Hour, and our other shows on your favorite podcast app. We'll meet you there.
Ryan Brown here for The Next Round. Join me and CBS sports analyst Brandon Marcello for the Middle Eight each Monday at 8 a.m. as we look back at the weekend of college football from the SEC to the top 25 of the college football playoff. It's the Middle Eight, presented by mybookie.ag, code NEXTROUND.
Start your day online with our website, nextroundlive.com, for the latest videos, podcasts, and college football stories. It's also a great way to stream the show or shop in the Next Round store. Stay connected by visiting nextroundlive.com.
Take TNR on the go with a podcast built for your satisfaction. Miss Hour 1? Find it in podcast form. Miss Hour 2? Stream it now. Miss Hour 3? Download it for later. Miss Hour 4? Well, just know it's never coming back. Listen to TNR wherever you find podcasts.
Back with you on Monday Morning Live with Tom Luginbill of ESPN. Don't forget Brandon Marcello, Ryan Brown with the Middle Eight at the top of the hour, 8 to 9 live. And that includes on our audio platform, just like this show. So if you're ever out of the house, not around the YouTube channel, you can pull up the app and catch the audio on the way in. Also, TuneIn Radio. If you're an Android device, we always send you to TuneIn Radio there. All of it's brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag, promo code next round. A couple of Monday night games, a couple of crucial Braves baseball games today, deciding who makes the playoffs, which start tomorrow. And then, of course, college football is back on Thursday night. You can play them all at mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag, promo code next round, no space, put those words together, and you get a deposit bonus there. Fun, easy way to play, mybookie.ag. All right, we'll move around to some other games, get your reaction, Lugs, and then we'll circle back to Alabama, Georgia, and the fallout from that outcome in a 12-team playoff world. First, let's go back to Friday night, and I know you're very close to the ACC, and I don't have a problem with this. If I was running a conference too, I would want to, sort of lean towards let's keep as many teams unbeaten as I can. I think they eventually got the call right in the Miami-Virginia Tech game. I did not think it was a catch, but for some reason, a delayed call, and then they call it a catch, and then by rule at that point, when they called it a catch on the field, I've got to find some indisputable evidence that overturns that. And I've watched it. I watched it, for 7 minutes with the replay officials, and then I watched it more and more. I don't see how you make the call initially on the field that it's Virginia Tech's when the Miami player's running away with the ball and you guys don't know what to call it, and then you call it Virginia Tech and then you overturn it. Miami wins the game. I think they got it right. Miami should have won the game. But that was a confusing ending to the game. And then because ESPN needed to get to boxing, and I understand that, we didn't really get a good explanation either on the field. Just walk me through what you saw on Friday night.
Yeah, I didn't think that the conference's explanation when they put out, their comment on how they came to the conclusion was overly clear either. Listen, whether you should have called it a catch or called it incomplete, we can debate that. I know neither of the officials, the back judge and the side judge, had made a determination that it was a catch, that it was a touchdown. But once they made it a catch, that's what made it, I believe, really, really difficult, because I did not see any part of how that play transpired from an indisputable video evidence standpoint that it should have been overturned. Once it was called a catch, we can debate whether it was a catch or not. But when the conference had come out, and I'm paraphrasing here, saying that once the ball had touched a Miami player, when that Miami player was out of bounds, that immediately makes it an incomplete pass. But all of that portion of the play transpired after the Virginia Tech player had already landed in the end zone and been down. They're laying on the ground when that ball comes out. Was it a catch prior to that ball coming out? Again, I don't know, but they called it one, meaning that they had to have evidence to say it wasn't one. And once those players were down and on the ground, I didn't see that evidence. If that was happening as the players were coming to the ground and the ball gets jarred loose, that's a whole different topic of conversation. But I just didn't see that happen here. It was messy. It wasn't good. The optics of it were not good. Aside from that, Virginia Tech probably didn't deserve to win the game the way they had been playing. They deserved some credit for getting back into it, and Miami probably should have won the game. And maybe they did get it right, but by the letter of the law, I don't know if anybody saw video evidence that they got it right.
I don't know if we cheer for chaos as much as we used to when there was only 2 spots or 1 spot or 4 spots open, but with 12 teams, obviously a lot more teams can scoreboard watch. Miami struggled to stop the run against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Now they play a conference game all the way in Cal Berkeley at 9:30 or 10:30 their body clock at night. And that team's going to run the football a little bit. Some concern for Miami playing the Berkeley Bears?
Well, it's definitely the best team, I think, that they've played so far this year. I think Cal's pretty salty. I know they're really good on defense, and they've shown flashes on offense. Did not play well in the offensive line against Florida State. Cal gets a break going into that game. I do think it will be a difficult game. Friday night, I kind of feel like Miami got caught reading their press clippings a little bit over the course of the last 4 weeks, and then they got challenged. Now, they did respond. But, yeah, I do think that's a tricky game for Miami. I don't know if Cal is built offensively to get into a track meet with Miami, because Miami's capable of doing that. I don't think that's what Cal would like to do. I think Cal's best option here at home is to run the football and play keep away and keep Cam Ward on the sideline for as long as you possibly can. I think that's the recipe for Cal.
In the chat room, Alan says Bama minus 24.5 when it opened at Vandy this weekend. Do they cover? It does feel like a letdown spot against a team that's going to play good defense and try to shut down this Alabama offense. That is a interesting 24.5 line on the road in Nashville.
Yeah.
You got all the distractions from the pedal bikes with the bachelorette parties and everything. Not an easy afternoon game.
I don't think you'll see a letdown, but I think that number's a little bit big. I think Alabama will play well, and they will out-athlete, out-depth Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's improved clearly, but they don't have the horses in the stable, in my opinion, to run that race. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be a blowout, but I could see that thing being a game where Alabama's clearly in charge, clearly going to win the football game, maybe has some tough moments, and then pulls away in the second half.
Brent Pry, according to SS, 1-10 in one-score games
Right.
and winless against ranked teams. And that Virginia Tech hasn't beat a top 10 team on the road since 2014. Listen, I'm going to trust SS on all those facts there, Lugs.
That's true.
The expectations for Virginia Tech was to get back into the conversation for the conference. Nothing worse for a coach than us media folks to build it up in June, July, and August, and then you come out and do what Tech has done so far. A little concern for Brent Pry there at Tech?
I think there should be. Now, there's a couple of things at play here. Why everybody was so excited is they go on that 5-game win streak to close out the season last year. They've got the most returning production on offense of any team in America, not just the ACC. You had what looked like a favorable schedule, and those were the reasons people were excited about them. What I was worried about, and I think it's what's happened, is it's been a long time since Virginia Tech has had a standard and an expectation level that's been way up here, where they've had an offseason where everybody's been talking about them and really patting them on the back and propping them up. And sometimes as a locker room, when you haven't been in that moment, you start to believe it, you start to buy into it, it can jump up and bite you. I remember having this conversation with Mac Brown at North Carolina the second year that Sam Howell was there. They got Sam Howell. He comes in as a freshman, and they had this monster year. And nobody was expecting it. And the offseason was exactly like the one we've talked about with Virginia Tech. And I asked Mac, and subsequently that following year, North Carolina falls flat. Ironically, they started the season at Virginia Tech, and you could tell in the first quarter something was wrong. And they ended up having a down year. And I said, did you sense it? When did you sense it? He goes, I sensed it in July. All of a sudden, a player would be late for a meeting. A player would skip a workout. A player would be late for treatment. Like all these little signs that focus was waning. They thought they'd had arrived, and then you go out and you don't play very well. And there's a lot of things that can lead to that. And I think a bit of that's happened here with Virginia Tech.
Rex with an interesting question, and it involves Ryan Williams. And in this state, it was all off season. You hear about Auburn's young receivers, Auburn's receiving class that came in there, their freshman receivers. Rex says, are the Auburn great new wideouts making an actual impact like Ryan Williams is? Are you able to see any impact at all from that great recruiting class, the Freeze 4 at Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're improved. I mean, I think we've seen snapshots and glimpses in skill level from Cam Coleman that's really, really impressive. Now, he's been banged up. I know he's had some issues with some focus and some drop stuff, which has surprised me because throughout high school, one of the things that stood out about him was his ability to not only make the routine catch, but to make the spectacular catch look easy. What I would say is we're also talking about a group that is in an entirely different set of circumstances than, let's just say, Ryan Williams is at Alabama, an entirely different set of circumstances because you don't have confidence in your favor right now. You don't have momentum in your corner right now. And there's a lot of negativity swirling around. And I think that affects everybody. Is it going to be a good group? I think so. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good group. It just may not manifest itself as fast as it has for, say, Ryan or Jeremiah Smith up at Ohio State.
Remember our two new team sites that we started here on the Next Round platform for all the Auburn news, free shows daily up every morning for you and throughout the day, and also premium content starting just at $1, but the shows are free. It's thebarnauburn.com, thebarnauburn.com, and for all your Alabama stuff, covercrimson.com. Again, daily shows for free for you, and then premium content starting at just $1 a month. covercrimson.com. Go and sign up now there. Back to Alabama and Georgia and the outcome of that. Obviously, immediately you look at Alabama, and they're the number one team in the country again. And I don't know if Alabama fans had that on their bingo card this year. The thought process seemed to be in the offseason, 10-2, get in the playoffs, try to keep this thing rolling down the road, and now here you are going into week 6, and you got 41st place votes. You're the number 1 team in the country, and it's like a QR code or part of the tradition at Alabama now. The target is back on the uniform again at Alabama, this time without Nick Saban. It's a good place to be in. Did you think Alabama would ever be the number 1 team in the country this year?
I don't know if I gave it really any thought. I knew they were capable of being one of the top teams in the country, and I felt that they were capable, if they lined up and played the number 1 team in the country, that they could win the football game. So I'm not shocked. I'm not overly surprised, knowing what they had coming back. Kalen DeBoer's, the proof's in the pudding with him everywhere he has been. He's won, and he's won big. And there was nothing to lead me to believe that they wouldn't play well. So I'm not stunned by it. There's a lot of football to play, clearly. We don't know what's going to happen with injuries. We don't know what's going to happen with scheduling. Does your bye week fall at the right time? What's happening in other conferences? It's a great place to be. Have you arrived? No, because we're not at the end. And I think every coach will tell you we got to be in that latter part of November and really start ascending, not the latter part of September. So it's a great indicator. It's a great a benchmark for you, but there's a lot of football to be played.
There obviously was a discussion about the inability or the lack of desire at some point to run the clock with a big lead in the second half. Should Bama fans be concerned that that's just a product of the offense? Was it the fact that Georgia was taking things away? It did seem like when it was getting really crunch time there that Jalen, even the punter, were leaving seconds on the clock to kick it away.
Yeah, there's a few times where, there's 25 seconds, on the clock and the ball's being snapped. I think it's a great coachable moment for them from an awareness standpoint. Situational football, knowing where you're at, what you're doing, doesn't make you less aggressive. It just means that you're not in a hurry. But yeah, there were some moments there that I thought, if we're going to nitpick, that they could have shrunk the game a little bit just through their actions pre-snap.
In the chat room, Tony wants to know, they were rotating so many DBs back there. It bothered me until the play count got way up in the second half, and then I was glad they were doing it.
Sure.
They kept rotating some of those young DBs back there, and the rotation. You're throwing inexperience on top of inexperience back there. Your thoughts on what that secondary did when it was all said and done? Xavier Brown learned for it with the interception, but Mbakwe and the others back there, how did you think Red, Morgan, and those guys played?
I thought they played fine. I didn't think that they were in any type of lockdown mode necessarily. I thought they caught them in a couple of busts. I thought on the bend go route, they caught the safety in that spot peeking in at the quarterback, and it was a really good play call, and it was a really well-run route because they're going to get that safety to jump the dig, and then he takes off and gets down the seam. They gave up their fair share of plays, which I think everybody's going to do in college football this day and age, good on good, because the skill's so good, Jim. And the younger you are, the more susceptible you are to mental busts, alignment errors, and maybe just not making a play on the ball because you're not in position to. We're going to look back, as I said in our first 20 minutes of this episode, we're going to look back 5 to 6 weeks from now. We're going to be talking about a different Alabama secondary, in my opinion. I just think that the personnel in college football now, unless you have the ability to just affect the quarterback routinely on every play, it's a space game, and defenders are at a disadvantage in space. And the younger you are, the more disadvantages you have on the back end. But I didn't think there was anything that stood out where I went, wow, boy, they are really devoid there, or there's going to be a problem long term that they've got to address there.
JC wants to know, do you see a scenario where Georgia misses the playoffs? For those that don't know their schedule, home game with Auburn this week, home game State, on the road at Texas, bye week, and then Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, and Georgia Tech. Is there a scenario in your mind from that team you saw in Bryant-Denny that the Bulldogs could not be a playoff team this year?
If they were to lose 3, yeah, because I think that's the threshold, right? I mean, if 10-2 or better, I think you're in a great position, regardless of it's 1 through 12. 9-3 or worse, you're going to have some issues. Are there teams on that remaining schedule? Could an Ole Miss get them? Sure. Could a Texas on the road get them? Absolutely. Would I tell you that I think Georgia, when they take the field, is probably the better team amongst the competitors outside of maybe Texas every week they take the field? Yeah, I do. I do think that. So I would be very, very surprised if Georgia was in a position where they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah. By the way, they've got to win 2 of these 3 now. They got to win at Texas, at Ole Miss, and Tennessee. They got to win 2 of those 3 to not have 3 losses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's how big that game was for the Georgia Bulldogs as they were over in town. Everyone's saying the line on Bama has moved down to 23.5, so some early money on Vandy there. Remember, Vandy took Missouri on the road to overtime.
Yeah.
Missouri, who currently sits as the number 9 team in the country, on the road at number 25, Texas A&M, in what I believe to be the only top 25 matchup this week, and that is number 9 Missouri against number 25 Texas A&M. All right, Lugs, we got about 6 minutes to go. I'll tell you about mybookie.ag, promo code next round. Don't forget that initial sign-on bonus there. You get a 20% off order at rowback.com, promo code TNR20. Promo code TNR20. And don't forget our friends at Gutter Cap. See Stu and the guys there will clean out your gutter one more time. They'll cap it, and then you'll never have to worry about your gutters again. Free flowing forever. 45% off, and then free estimates as well. Get it all at 205-823-2212. 205-823-2212, guttercapbirmingham.com. Just reactions to these as we go on. You talked about Jeremiah Smith at the Under Armour All-Star game. For those, did I hear you right? You said all 3 of those guys were there, and you rated them right?
No.
Okay.
Two of the 3 were there.
Okay.
All 3 of those guys were our top 3 receivers.
Yeah, and to recap, you rated them in what order again? 1, 2, 3?
Ryan, Jeremiah, Cam.
So you knew Jeremiah Smith was going to be what he is there, and he was a star again against Michigan State. Ohio State wins it. They now get Iowa this weekend. It's their best test to date. What should I expect from Ohio State?
Well, defensively, they will be challenged. I mean, when you consider Iowa's, with that offense a year ago, won 10 games. And there's a reason why. It's because that team can flat out play defense. So I think they'll be challenged. They're going to be the better team. They're going to have better athletes across the board than Iowa. I think Ohio State's most difficult opponent is going to be themselves each and every week, because the expectation and what they went out and did in the offseason is so big and so large. But I think Chip Kelly's been a fantastic addition. I think he's managed Will Howard and gotten all of the athletes enough touches across the board to really, really make them scary on offense.
Penn State taking a page out of Harbaugh's Michigan last year, 44 runs, 239 yards. They beat Illinois 21-7. Do you like what Penn State is doing?
I do. I love that offensive coordinator. I think Andy Kotelnicki is one of the best, brightest offensive coordinators. What's amazing about that is they have 44 rushing attempts, and the week before they had 10 different people touch the football in the passing game. So talk about 2 completely different approaches based off of a week-to-week scenario. They give you so much window dressing on offense, Jim. They are so much fun to watch. They shift, they motion, got all kinds of backfield eye candy. They are super difficult to defend.
Daniel says Georgia is beating us by 50. He's an Auburn fan. Riley says, I love the Lugs evaluation all the time. Robert, Georgia ain't beating Texas. Well, tune in. It should be a heck of a football game there. Can you name me the 3 teams that right now are mathematically tied for the Big 12 lead?
All right, mathematically tied for the Big 12 lead. This one might surprise you, but is one of them Arizona?
Not according to my list. One of them is not Arizona.
Okay, so then it's got to be Texas Tech.
Yes.
Kansas State and BYU.
BYU, Texas Tech, and Colorado.
Oh, hey, by the way, by the way, no, they played really well. Like that team as a team deserves a lot of credit for what they did this past weekend.
Best game to date for Deion, in my opinion, mainly because of what they did defensively, shutting down Gus Malzahn's rushing attack, right?
On the road, they looked competent. They looked dialed in. They didn't give up explosives. They created negatives. I still think sometimes watching them on offense that everything is a hope and a prayer, and that it somehow comes down in the right way for them. They made a couple of those plays again when they had to make them to not allow UCF to build back into this game and come back into it. But I came away impressed because they looked like a well-oiled unit.
Yeah. By the way, BYU, Colorado, and Texas Tech all 2-0. Iowa State, Arizona, and West Virginia are 1-0. Technically a half game back there since it's a big baseball divisional playoff day today. All right, one more thing real quick. Give me a 15-second answer on what SMU did to Florida State. You saw that game.
Took them behind the woodshed in every facet of the game. Rhett Lashley's football team is pretty darn good. And, their only loss is by a field goal to BYU.
Who looks better and better, yep.
Who's pretty good. No, SMU is a surprise because they're better up front as a group of 5 team moving to the Power 4 than people are giving them credit for.
100%. That was an interesting game. All Florida State gets now is Clemson this week. Cool. Ouch. He's Tom Luginbill. Check him out on all his platforms throughout the week. ESPN. He's back with us next week here on Monday Morning Live, presented by mybookie.ag. The middle 8 is up next. It's Brownie and Marcelo and Brownie. Whichever household you defend there, they're ready for the next 60 minutes. See you guys in a little bit. See you, Lugs.